Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for watching. And so tonight's topic is about what it means to be a woman. And so to introduce the topic itself, I just want to mention that this whole Cheat Chat platform has been motivated by the concept of feminism and what that means. So being vulnerable and sensitive and being patient are traits of femininity. And so just kind of like the specifics of that, what motivated this whole movement for me has been the fact that like women endure these inevitable pains. And so no matter our status or level of power in society, we're still bound to exhibit these predetermined socialized traits. And so what happens when our character balance is disturbed or exploited? And so, or what happens if as women we don't exhibit these socialized traits. And so before we get all into that, I'm going to let my guest introduce herself. Caller, what's your name and where are you from?
Hey, so I am Binti and I'm from Brisbane, Australia.
Australia, guys. She's from Australia. What are the socialized attributes? So women are viewed or supposed to embody these characteristics of being sensitive, gentle, empathetic, nurturing, humble, caregivers and caretakers, and also be submissive. And I think what we forget with the story of Adam and Eve is that Eve was a nurturing woman. She was, she had these traits, and what ended up happening is she only ate that apple or fed Adam that apple was because she was trying to take care of her man. She saw he was hungry, and so her being the woman, she fed him the apple, and to this day we are doomed for taking care of others. So.
To add on to that, I feel like if we really wanted to get into it, we could go beyond it only being socialized, but it could also be an expectation in a woman's culture and or her religion that a woman has to be quiet or dependent on a man, be submissive to her man. And, we're kind of raised to put people before ourselves. I feel like naturally we may be a nurturer and all that, but nowadays it can be overlooked.
All right, thank you. Point being, what happens when women have been exploited or manipulated to the point where they no longer are viewed to have these attributes, these good attributes? I think what happens is women become cold, vengeful, petty, and eventually we're viewed as crazy, which I think is crazy to use that word again, because we were not the ones who brought about this character switch, yet we're held responsible for the character switch. Binti, I don't know. What do you think?
Girl, I honestly can't stand the whole stigma of a woman being called crazy. I feel like now that we stand up for ourselves, we've been given a title of being, petty or crazy. But honestly, I feel as though that title could be placed on us to kind of cover up reasons as to why we've been given this crazy girl title.
Right. People want to cover up the fact that they're not taking responsibility for their actions. So what happens when women don't exhibit these feminine traits? So especially women of power who find themselves in positions where they work in an environment where it's predominantly male saturated, eventually they're viewed as a threat. And that's weird because women are just adapting, to their environment, and they do become competitive, but then they're viewed as a threat. And so women are also seen as aggressive when they tend to have that physical appearance of being powerful. For example, Serena Williams, very renowned, athletic, competitive woman who's very good at her sport. She's viewed as aggressive and whatnot. Like, she's not dainty, and so they kind of label that on her. So, Binti.
Yeah, I kind of think what you said was perfect. I feel like nowadays when a woman is a bodybuilder, has her own, we're being viewed as being masculine or intimidating. Mm-hmm. We've kind of got to be like petite little girls to be viewed as a woman, and I think it's just too many expectations.
So I think at the end of the day, we are like the women that are less feminine are the ones that tend to be picked last.